chairpersons, friends, seniors. I'll be speaking today on fractures of the distal tibia, meeting the challenge. So these fractures, which are also called as pilon or plafond fractures, they are the most substantial therapeutic challenge to a traumatologist. Though numerous factors are responsible, none is more challenging than the accompanying soft tissue injury. The osseous anatomy has to be restored after giving utmost respect to the soft tissues. So initial evaluation of these fractures, the one silver lining is that as compared to the proximal tibial fractures, complete vascular injury or compartment syndrome is little less or rare. So how do you evaluate the soft tissue? You see the degree of swelling, you see the abrasions, whether they are superficial or deep, you see the blisters and their location, you see the degree of compounding, you see the degree of contamination, whereas the farm injuries with organic contamination, they are the worst. What is the importance of blisters? The blisters, they represent the cleavage of the dermal epidermal junction of the skin. So they may occur immediately or may take 2 or 3 days. They may be clear-filled or blood-filled. The clear-filled blisters retain some epidermal cells and they re-epithelialize early. The blood-filled blisters do not have any epidermal cells and re-epithelialize late. So how do you treat a blister? You can do a sterile deroofing with a needle. You can do a sterile aspiration. You can leave them intact, but you have to dress them with a non-adherent dressing. And you have to avoid placement of incision over the blister bed till either it is completely epithelialized or healed. So what is the emergency management? Even before the x-rays, you have to do a manual correction of any gross deformity. In compound fractures, you have to remove all foreign material, debris. You do a lavage and you give a sterile dressing. In bone protrusions outside skin, it is pertinent that you do an emergency reduction of the extruded fragment after the lavage to prevent crushing and necrosis of the underlying skin. And then you can give a provisional splintage. So x-rays, you take a AP, lateral and mortise view. And in all articular fractures, getting a CT should be a routine protocol. In grossly displaced and compound fractures, an external fixator should be applied before CT. The CT scan, it helps define the exact geometry of the fracture displacement. It helps locate the depressed articular fragments. It helps in planning the surgical approach or the approaches which will be needed to treat with these fractures. So the classification of distal tibial fractures, you can have an extra-articular fracture, which may be simple, which may be wedge, which may be multifragmentary. Then you have a partial articular fracture, which may be a split depression, which may be a pure depression. And then you can have a complete articular fracture, which may be simple articular, which may be simple articular or multifragmentary metaphyseal, and you can have a multifragmentary fracture. The surgical approaches. The surgical approach would depend on the fracture anatomy and displacement as you have concluded from the CT findings. So beside the routine approaches, one must be conversant with the specific approaches. And more than one approach may be needed to deal these fractures. Coming to the anterolateral approach, it is used in complete central pilon fractures, in some low metaphyseal fractures where anteromedial skin is not good, and an anterior submuscular plating can be done, and it cannot be extended superiorly. That's the restriction. So you take an incision which is midway between the medial and lateral malleolus. You will encounter the superficial peroneal nerve, which has to be retracted, and then the entire anterior musculotendinous structures, they are lifted from the anterior aspect of the tibia, and you can see that the anterior surface of the tibia is exposed, your talonavicular joint is exposed, and you can take this opportunity to put in an intraoperative distractor between the talus and the tibia. So this distractor can be used to reduce the fragment, to improve your exposure. And the anteromedial approach is useful for medial articular fragments. So your incision is you take an anteromedial incision and you would retract the anterior tibial tendon along with its sheath, and then you can expose your medial articular fragments. The minimally invasive approach is used for extra-articular fractures or minimally displaced articular fractures, and you can do your MIPO through this. The posterolateral approach, it is done in prone or lateral position. It is useful for posterior lip fractures. Fibular fixation can be done through the same approach, but it can't tackle the anterior fractures. So you take an incision which is midway between the tendoachilis and the lateral malleolus, and when you lift the peroneal tendons medially, your lateral malleolus is exposed. And when you move your peroneus longus laterally, you can get to the flexor hallucis muscle, which is erased and lifted from the posterior surface of the tibia, and you can expose your posterior lip fracture along with the posterior tibia. So as you see here, the peroneus longus is moving medially and your fibula has been fixed. And here you can see the peroneus longus is taken laterally and the flexor hallucis longus is lifted, and you can put a plate on the posterior surface of the tibia. So decision making, it depends on the soft tissue injury. In low energy trauma with normal skin, you can plan a routine surgery using the required approach and internal fixation, which includes the site-specific low-profile locking implants. So you've got all site-specific low-profile locking implants, and you can go in normally in a normal skin. In low energy, in little doubtful skin with abrasions, swelling or blisters, you can wait for up to 8 to 12 days for abrasions and blisters to heal, and then go ahead with a routine fixation, making necessary modifications to your incision. A fracture with good skin can handle multiple internal fixation devices. As you can see here, there's a distal tibial locking plate, there's an anterior L plate, there are site-specific fibular plates. So all these can be put, though seldom you require to put so many implants in. In grossly displaced fracture with skin issues, a spanning external fixator should be applied till the skin is ready for internal fixation. So you can put an external fixation which can be monoplanar, biplanar, and then you can have an external fixator with a pin in the midfoot. Sometimes when skin condition is bad and is not expected to improve in a reasonable period of time, external fixator has to be used as a definitive fixation with reduction of the articular fragments and minimal internal fixation. Interlock nailing, it can be used only in extra-articular fractures. Nails with multiplanar locking options should be used. Requires high degree of precision, is technically demanding, and margin of error is much less in these low fractures. So this is almost the watershed line. Beyond this, if the fracture exists beyond this, you can't do interlock nailing. The fibular fixation, it is the most important starting point in these fractures. It helps in gaining the length as well as the alignment of your tibial fracture. And luckily, in most cases, the skin is spared in this area, and you can go ahead with your fibular plating. Percutaneous fixation, it can be done with good results in fractures with simple geometry and where fibula has been adequately addressed. So this is the results of a percutaneous fixation. The fibula was fixed. There was a posterior lip fracture, which was fixed with these 2 AP screws. There was a vertical split of the medial malleolus, which was fixed with a transfer screw, and you can see that at 6 months, the fractures have nicely healed. Bone grafting. This is must in any initial defect or severe comminution. Whenever defect created due to elevation of the fragments, it can be used primarily in low-grade compound fractures without comminution, without contamination. They can be impregnated with antibiotics like vancomycin to prevent infection. The ceramic cements can be used alternatively. This is a very good site to get copious amount of bone graft. The medial femoral condyle, you can make a window here, and you can take out a good amount of copious bone grafts from this site, and the morbidity is much less. Eraser fixation, it is extremely useful in these fractures. It can be used as a definitive fixation, giving very good stability where soft tissues preclude internal fixation. For those trained in this, the indications can be extended. So here is a 70-year-old female. It's a low energy trauma. The X-rays give you some idea, but this lateral X-rays looks almost normal. But when you get a CT scan done, you see that the patient has got a low transverse fracture of the fibula. The patient has got a vertical fracture of the medial malleus, and then you've got a big posterior lip fracture. So we went through the posterolateral approach. This is the peroneus longus, which has been lifted, the flexor hallucis longus, which has been lifted, and then this posterior lip fracture has been fixed with a simple Ellis plate, which is we use for the distal radius. And the low transverse fracture of the lateral malleus has been fixed with this interfrac screw. Mind you, it is not an intramedullary screw, because the intramedullary screw here would tend to take this into varus. So this is an intrafrac screw. It is very useful in a low transverse fracture of the fibula. Once we did this is the plate which has been applied. Once we did this, we found that this vertical slit in the medial malleus is almost fallen back into place. The anteromedial slit was not good, so we just put in a percutaneous cancellous screw. And you see, in 3 months, the fracture is healed very well. This is a 35 male. The skin condition was quite okay. So we went in and we did a bridge plating using a distal tibial locking plate. And we could even get an interfrac percutaneous screw through the plate. And you can see at 6 months, the fracture has healed absolutely fine. There's a 40 male. You can see there's a fractured lateral malleus, but there's a simple fracture pattern of the distal tibia. The fibula has been fixed well, and then you can put in 4 interfrac screws through this simple fracture line, and this fracture can be treated in a plaster cast for some time. This is 65 male. You can see there's a posterior lip, there's a medial malleus, there's a low lateral malleus. All were fixed with a percutaneous screws, and you see in 3 months the fracture has healed very well. Now, this is a 30 female. There's a grade 2 compound fracture, and this butterfly is out of the skin. So what we did was put this back in, put a small interfrac screw. We did a fibula plating. This gap was packed with bone grafts through the compounding injury, and we did a Ilizarov fixation. So this is how we went about it. And you see, in 3 months, when we removed the fixator, the fracture has healed so well. And this is because you put in the bone grafts right on day 1. So this is where we started, and this is where we were in 3 months. Now this is also another case. You have got a simple articular fracture, you have got a comminuted metaphyseal fracture, you've got a fibular fracture, and you also have an additional avulsion fracture of the calcaneum. So the plan was, and the anteromedial skin is not good, so plan was to put interfrac screws into this, fix the fibula, pack this with bone grafts, and do a Ilizarov fixation. And you see, in 3 months again, everything has healed very well. So this is where we started, and this is where we landed up after 3 months. Now, this is a 70-year-old male diabetic patient. Fibula is grade 2 compounding, severe comminution here, and this is how the skin is. This is the anteromedial skin, and this is the compounding wound over the lateral malleus. So again, we did a fixation of the fibula with an intramedullary wire, and you can see this huge defect here. And we packed in antibiotic impregnated bone grafts through the compounding wound of the lateral malleus, and you can see the grafts are filling up the space well. And then we did a interfrac thick KY fixation, and then we put in a Ilizarov fixation. So the good thing about Ilizarov is such a low fracture, we could get in a tension wire through the distal fragment, we could get a half pin in the distal fragment, we could get 2 tension calcaneal wires, and we could get these 2 midfoot pins. So it's a 6 hold in your distal. And see, in 3 months, everything the tibia is healed very well. So this is where we started, And this is where we landed at 3 months. Once we have removed the fixator, you can see the bone has healed absolutely fine. And this is how the skin looks at 3 months. This is an interesting case. This is a 25 male, 1 year post-surgery. There's deep infection. The implants are exposed, and there is equinus contracture. Luckily, the bone is well healed. This is how the foot looks like. So we went in, we removed the implants, put in this foot frame, and gradually corrected this. This is the compression hinge, this is the distraction hinge. And in 6 weeks, we could correct this foot and make this plantigrade. So this, you can see the preoperative thing, the talus is naked, it is lying, subluxating anteriorly, and this is after correction, that talus has been brought back well under the tibia. So to conclude, distal tibial fractures are one of the most challenging fractures, and to treat them, one has to be well trained and equipped. Soft tissues dictate when and how to proceed. External fixation may be needed as there is an emergency or definitive method. Reconstruction usually begins by fixing fibula. CT is essential in defining articular displacement and the approach for surgery. One must be conversant with the various approaches to the distal tibia. Preoperative planning based on CT findings and skin condition is of utmost importance. A primary bone grafting should be considered whenever there is a defect. It gives a predictable union time. It can be done even in low-grade compound fractures. Being trained in Elizarov fixation carries an advantage in these fractures. Thank you very much for your patient hearing.